Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Hope we're not bogging down your day as we return to the Bayou to look at The Return of Swamp Thing from 1989.
It must have been the box office comic book movie hit of the year.
Probably.
I'm making a joke.
No Superman movies that year?
There was a little film out there that was kind of experimental by a director that hadn't had a lot of... Well, I had a few things, but something called Batman, guy Michael Keaton got involved with, it was kind of controversial.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this movie had an itty-bitty little budget, slightly higher than the first one, $3-ish million, and made 5.7. Well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a good use of budget.
Yeah, and it made 5.7 million worldwide.
That's a letdown, considering... Huh.
I agree. I would imagine it did well on rentals, though. I'd be shocked if it didn't.
Did it play on television a lot? That seems to be what I remember, it just showing up on cable television.
Yeah, I remember this one on cable a lot. I think I mentioned last week, I never was able to find the original on cable. Like, it's almost like it didn't exist, and I don't understand why, since it was a Wes Craven movie. But all that being said, I'd rather watch this one any day of the week. I like this movie. It's fun.
It is fun. I'm undecided whether I like it better than the first one or not, but maybe we can discuss its merits and faults and everything else.
Well, I think the first one, if it had this suit and a little less time doing the same thing over and over and over again, I might change my mind. But the suit is so bad in the first one compared to this that it's really hard to, it's just hard.
Well, I'll see you on that, and I'll raise you. Even though the suit is much superior here, my big complaint against the first movie is it looks too pretty for what it's supposed to be. It has these beautiful daytime shots, and it needs to be a darker movie. The first one does. It should have been shot a lot more at night. And this one has a ton of night scenes in it. So I feel like if the first one made better use of shadows and darkness, that, even the costume notwithstanding, that would have made the biggest difference.
Maybe the best way to say it is if the same people made the first movie again, it would have turned out more like the second movie. You can tell they learned a lot.
That's likely, yeah. So we brought back two performers, I guess, from the first movie. And the headliner is Louise Jordan. And then the guy in the suit, I can't remember. They didn't put him on the poster.
Dick Durock.
Dick Durock. That's a tough guy's name. Now we get to see in flashbacks Alex Holland as a man from the first movie, and we get what's weird is kind of a sensual makeout scene, but it's not played by either Dick Durock or the guy from the first movie.
Yes, and apparently Heather Locklear hated this guy, and they made him leave the set as soon as it was over. So apparently he made her feel uncomfortable.
I watched one of the interviews where that got said. So that's a weird little tidbit in this movie.
Yeah, and what's kind of weird, too, is I feel like it probably takes a lot to make Heather Locklear feel uncomfortable.
Apparently she loved Dick Durock. Like, they probably could have just taken him out of the suit and done that. She probably would have been happy with it.
Yeah, I thought that scene was awkward for a lot of reasons. But
one of
them was, he doesn't even resemble the guy from the first movie whose name I can't quite recall.
Yeah.
He didn't even have the same hair color. And they clearly
it's just so weird. Yeah. Why didn't that get cut out of the movie is what I want to know. Deleted scene fodder right there.
It's a sex scene for kids. What can you say?
So, on that note, there are a lot of ornery people in this movie. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the other word for the YouTube algorithms or whatever, but
do you say
there's a whole
ornery
lot of
or ornery?
Ornery.
Oh.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I think they used that in Days of Thunder at one point. Got real ornery. The kids and their magazine stash, and they got a couple of the rednecks that might be the same guys from the Supergirl movie we watched. The 1984 Supergirl movie, the guy in the A&W shirt. But
yeah.
He's a bit that way. And then you got a variety of Arcane's guards. And then you got not so much Arcane himself, a little bit Arcane himself, but mostly Ursa. Speaking of Superman, right? You caught that? That's the same lady?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What's her actress name and what's her character in this movie?
Talking about Lana?
No, the right-hand woman of Arcane.
Who's
a brunette.
Monique Gabrielle. You
Huh.
talking about you talking about Points?
Wait,
I think we're mixing
was her?
people. There's two main women. One is like the head of security girl, and the other is the scientist. So which one are you talking about?
Guess I'm talking about the scientist lady. Doesn't she
Right.
work
So
mostly with Arcane, and the other woman works with the criminal
yes.
looking
So
guy?
Sarah Douglas plays Dr. Lana Zirel, and Monique Gabriel plays Miss Poinsettia, known as Points, which is the girl with the gun.
And is Points, is that a little entendre?
Yes, and apparently Lois Jordan didn't like the joke, and the director kind of kicked back and said, "Weren't you just in a movie called Octopussy?" And apparently that was the last time that Jordan spoke to him.
I'm going to defend Jordan a little bit here. It's one thing when you're in a James Bond movie and you want to make that kind of humor. This is freaking Return of Swamp Thing. You're lucky to have this guy in the movie. Don't burn bridges with your top billing.
Yeah, it sounds like they just really butted heads. Wernerski in his interview was talking about Jordan, and he says, he doesn't want to talk ill of the dead, but good grief, he hated him. I guess they did not see eye to eye on anything. And I don't know if it was something else that was personal that kind of led into that or what. Or maybe Jordan was just kind of like, I can't believe I'm doing this movie. But he seems to enjoy the role, so I don't know.
It is surprising he's back after all these years. This was the first one, 1981, and this is 1989. And he looks the same. For a guy who became a werepig at the end of it, he's looking pretty good. He's worried about staying young and moisturizing.
Yeah, it's funny. I really didn't care for his character too much in the first movie. I thought it was too wooden, and the accent was a little bit overdone. I think he's having fun here. Like he's the straight man surrounded by absurdity, and I think it works.
He is somewhat better utilized in this movie, especially when we get to the finale. It's actually him in the finale as opposed to a stuntman in a werepig outfit.
Yeah, well, and I think this movie is a lot more fun. I think because they really make these big elaborate set pieces at this apparently school that they use instead of just running around in the swamp all the time.
But they do have a swamp too. It's a
Oh,
real
they do.
swamp, isn't it?
They do.
It's
Yes,
not
yes.
a set.
Yeah, but they don't spend an hour and a half in the swamp. They spend 30 minutes in the swamp and an hour in buildings and outside the building and, dry, basically.
Even a chase scene. You wouldn't think there'd be a car chase with. I guess there was a little bit in the last one, but Swamp Thing is driving the car in this movie.
Yeah, he temporarily drove a boat in the last movie. And in this one, he's the getaway driver. While Heather Locklear has all the weapons with pinpoint accuracy, I might say.
So, Heather's character, am I right
Abbie
to remember
Arcane.
that she's the stepdaughter
Yes.
of Arcane? But why does she take his name?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So in real life, in the comic books, she is
Real life, I like
actually, if I'm not mistaken, let me make sure I got this right.
Abigail, right? It's consistent on the first name, Abigail in the comics, but sometimes the last name changes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. Okay, yeah. So Arcane is her uncle in the comics.
Okay.
Not her stepfather, and she
That
does
would make more sense.
something. She also gets married to Matthew Cable, who was the character who inspired the girl in the first movie.
Alice Cable, right?
Yes.
And that's an original character though. The not Andrea Beaumont. What am I trying to say?
You talking about Cable?
Barbaro, right? Andrea Barbo from
Yeah, I think that's right.
Alice, yeah.
Yeah, but Alice Cable was inspired by Matthew Cable from the comics. Basically, they took him and they did the gender swap. Maybe the first comic book version of that, actually.
Just to sum it up, I think Alice Cable is a bit of a stronger lead than Abbie Arcane. Abbie is fun, but it just you kind of wonder why she's in the movie other than that Swamp Thing needs a romantic deal. She doesn't really serve any kind of role other than she's coming to visit her stepfather for some reason that she hates.
Yeah, well, you could say the first movie, you could almost say Cable is the main character.
She is. Yeah, she's the April O'Neil to the Ninja Turtle, the swampy Ninja Turtle.
I don't know how much of that is because the suit wouldn't hold up to make Swamp Thing more of a main character in the first one. But Swamp Thing's in a movie in the first movie. This movie, I feel like, really is a Swamp Thing movie.
He's got a personality that's fully intact. He can
He got voice lessons.
Yeah, apparently he didn't need anybody to be his hands anymore, but he stuck around in the swamp because... What's your thoughts on the continuity between these two movies? Are they trying to make them work? you've described this as a bit of a soft reboot before.
It feels like a soft reboot, but the first movie is canon. I think that's the
You get the
way.
flashback,
This is
and
almost like Superman 3. Like, it's
well,
got the feel of Superman 3. Well, not in terms of the tone difference.
so I was thinking for a while they were ignoring the end of the movie, and they were doing an imaginary continuity where after Dr. Holland caught on fire and jumped in the swamp, they never really saw him again, aside from just, swamp creature foiling their plans, which Arcane suspected. But one of the scientists does make a comment about finding Arcane and getting him back to normal, which seems maybe that is acknowledging the end of the first movie.
No, I think it's considered canon. I don't. It is definitely a stark contrast in terms of the tone, but I mean, I don't see any evidence to say that they're ever trying to say the first movie didn't exist or it didn't exist exactly the way it happened. So
in the first movie, I forget the scientific MacGuffin that everybody wanted. It sort of changed. So the project the Holland siblings were working on, was it supposed to be a fountain of youth serum, or was it supposed to be magical, actualize whatever you are and make it better mutagen? Do you recall?
What it was supposed to be was to save the world from hunger.
Oh, okay.
I suppose you make some kind of immortal plant that can grow in any situation. So you could grow things in the desert and that kind of stuff. Yes, it did turn into emphasizing whatever you already are, which is quite the jump. Which makes you think that
that's
they
all
didn't
gone.
accomplish what they thought.
This movie, yeah, that's all gone for this.
Yeah, so he's come back to life, or he got resuscitated, however you want to put it, but his body's falling apart, probably as a result of the saving him.
Okay.
And he's trying to reverse. I don't know if his body's rapidly aging or what, but he's basically got 72 hours, he's told, before he just starts falling apart. So
I forgot it was that urgent.
Yeah. So he needs part of Swamp Thing, and he needs someone whose DNA. So his original experiments.
The movie changes around with this point.
Yeah. So Abbie's mom worked with Arcane, and he truly did apparently love that woman. But as part of the experiments that she agreed to do, so it wasn't like against her will, she died. But I guess her DNA was important to continue the work. So they run Abbie's DNA as if she wouldn't have the same DNA, even though she's the daughter, whatever. And she's a match. So he needs Abbie's DNA, he needs Swamp Thing DNA, and for some reason he needs a third-party DNA. I guess it's the binding agent, and that's where the janitor and Lana come in. Dr. Zor-El.
Well, yeah, Zor-El, I like that. Not Jor-El, but yeah, and Dr. Zor-El finds out somewhat early in the movie, maybe halfway through, they're planning to use her as a lab experience, and she makes a face turn, I think.
Yeah. Well, so I don't think that's quite right. Arcane said to the guy with the asthma doctor. He told him, "Do what you need to do," because he was told that basically there's a janitor guy and Zor-El, that they were the two people who could meet that category. And he says, "Do what you got to do." Now they didn't take the doctor; she was never at risk in this. They took the janitor, but because he said, "Do what you need to." Her face turn was more along the lines of she's come to realize that she can never take the place of Abbie's mother.
Okay.
She will never have Arcane's heart, which is probably why she hated Abbie in the beginning. And I was trying to figure out why she hate Abbie. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Okay.
But she's jealous of the mother. I watched that movie 7 times over my life to figure that out.
Did you think that backstory? Do you think it happened between movies?
Well, and that's where there's some disconnect because there's never an allusion to a mother in the first movie. So Abbie's old enough where it makes you think that was pre-first movie even. So
yeah, it could have been. Yeah, we don't know how many years have passed.
It's comic books; they age differently.
Speaking of comic books, this movie is a little bit interesting in the opening credits.
Oh, I love the
opening credits. Because they had a guy on the film. They had a guy on the film who had a big old vintage Swamp Thing collection, and they wanted to do a nice little opening. And he brings his comics in for photographing or filming, because it's not like they could just run it through a scanner like we would today. And then they used a camera, and they spun stuff around. And in some cases, they had to chop the stuff up to get it to lay right. So somebody sacrificed their vintage Swamp Thing collection so that it could look cool as a movie opening, and I don't know a whole lot of movies that would have done that kind of on-the-nose comic book, here they are, up to that point.
Maybe Howard the Duck. That probably would have been it. I don't think they
Oh,
did it. I
okay.
think I could see them doing it. But no, I
Yeah.
love that opening. I hope they paid him enough money to go buy his comics back.
Although I will say, assuming he got to keep them even after cut up, they'd probably be worth even more if they were the film used props vintage comics. Even if you have the cover separated.
That might
Yeah.
have taken a couple of decades to get to that point. But yeah. So all the mutants,
Yeah. How's he doing that? How's it
they're mixing DNA. They're splicing
is it from
DNAs.
the research from the Holland work? Is that how they were able to do it? Because they had the notebook from the first movie?
That's a good question. They don't even try to answer that.
Okay. Don't worry, I won't worry about it. They look really cool, the
Yeah.
whatever those things are.
Dr. Rochelle, the asthma guy. But if this is his real name, then it's something else. His name is Ace Mask. That name is wasted on that guy.
That sounds very made up. Like in the comic books, he probably became a major villain at some point if he existed. But Ace
That's
Mask.
the actor's name. That's the actor's name.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the actor's name. It is Ace Mask. Huh.
And what a random, lame-looking dude in real life to get a name like that.
What else did he do, Mr. Ace Mask?
Well, there's nothing wrong with him. I'm just saying, like, that name it just does not fit. He did not grow into that name.
Maybe he did. We just haven't seen the movie where he did.
Maybe. But, old Baxter Stockman, we can call him that.
I got a feeling about Baxter from him. Yeah, I did get that vibe.
Yeah. So they make all these weird mutants, which are like, I'd say half animal, but it's more like half something other than human. It could be, insect, bug, spider, rats, werewolves, anything.
And they're not mixed very well. Like it's not a clean hybrid of man and beast. It's like half of your face is.
You're mixing your flour and your egg, and they just didn't make it a smooth transition. It's kind of lumpy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's
like all the mutants. They're very lumpy.
It is kind of Ninja Turtle-esque, though, that you basically have some kind of animal creature thing in human shape, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any favorites of the mutants?
Well, I really like. Is it a leech monster? The one that fights Swamp Thing a couple of times and gets the little boys involved?
If it's not a leech, I don't know what it would be. Maybe an anteater of some sort, but it looks kind of like a bug, though. So I want to say leech.
I'm inclined to refer to him as Bloodsucker. Maybe he has a comic book name, but Bloodsucker was a Ninja Turtle comic book villain that was a part leech, so that's why it reminds me of him. But he's a really cool design. So nasty. I love it, though. He's probably not utilized as well as he could be. Like, if he's a leech, at some point he needs to leech onto Swamp Thing and drain his life force a little bit, but I don't think he did that in the movie.
Yeah, I don't think they had the budget for that one.
What
do you think of the final boss?
Is it not just Arcane, or is it the Dr. Rosemary's Child?
I mean, I think it's Baxter Stockman, technically, in terms of boss fight. I can't say what he did with Arcane was a fight.
Yeah, Arcane was there, and I appreciate he's in the movie until the bitter end.
Yeah, he threw a chair at Arcane, and he fell very gingerly and laid there until the place blew up. So you really can't say that was a fight.
Yeah. So as far as the Baxter mutant, I don't have a lot of great memories of the fight. I like the leech monster better than whatever the Doctor turns into.
I couldn't decide what he turned into. I couldn't find an animal.
Okay. And he's in there. You kind of forget about him a little bit. Because, was it Abbie who threw him into the chamber?
Oh, no, it was Lana Zirel. It was Lana getting him out of the way so she could mess up the experiment.
Oh, yeah. So you kind of forget that plot point after she gets shot. And it's been a little while since she threw him into the chamber. And then this monster comes out. And you're like, oh, new monster. Then you're thinking, oh, wait, is that the same guy from earlier? It's not obvious, though. You don't see a transformation scene.
He's got an asthma thing.
All right. Yeah.
He takes a little breathing thing. He's Lana's ace in the hole, so to speak. She just doesn't know that.
Okay.
What'd you think of the parrot? Old Frank Welker.
Kind of forgot about the parrot, too. How much is the parrot in the movie?
He's there whenever Arcane needs to say something of the effect of, why am I surrounded by idiots? The parrot is the smartest one of them.
I guess it's a real parrot they brought onto the set, but they dubbed him?
I mean, I don't think they would have had a mechanical parrot.
But they dubbed over him with Frank Welker? Is that what happened? Okay. It's a little bit of a missed opportunity to have a trained parrot just saying the line. Okay.
Well, he hadn't had his voice lessons like Swamp Thing,
I feel like a mechanical parrot would have been easier to handle at this point than a real parrot on the set. Maybe I'm wrong.
Do parents live in the parents? Do parrots live in the swamp?
Huh.
Maybe they just found one.
Okay. Why not?
Let's see here, what have we not talked about?
The little boys, they're kind of the
Oh
scene
yeah,
stealers. They're in all the trailers. Man, I remember them from before I remember the movie just because they always put them in the promotional material.
yeah, and I like the trailers because they don't spoil the movie. These guys are a side plot, and they make a pretty good trailer out of it. And apparently, they were not in the original script. Wynorski took the script and rewrote it to make it cheaper because he's like, I can't afford this, and he wrote in all the kid parts. That's kind of the comic relief and the bring down the budget. And I have to say, those kids got chemistry. I never really got overly annoyed with them. They never stayed on screen long enough to get irritating.
The fat kid comes close. Little fat white kid.
Oh, he comes close.
He never shuts up. I feel like they dubbed extra stuff in with his dialogue.
That wouldn't surprise me. But I think they work. They work. They bring up the campy factor. You get Swamp Thing giving the thumbs up to the kids, hitting people with baseball bats, taking pictures, tell them to take that lens cap off, the most overdone joke in the 80s and 90s.
Boy, that's the truth. I don't even know if kids can appreciate that these days, how often the lens cap was left on.
Yeah, and then they actually a mid-credit scene too.
Yeah, they didn't get any of their photos because of they didn't have any film in the camera. That's the other joke after the lens cap. No film in the camera.
Yeah, so basically what happens to these guys to put their entire plot together here is they're looking at naughty magazines while their parents are playing bingo, I believe it was.
Explain the resort. Are they supposed to live there, or are they both on vacation? Because they call it a resort, and there's a whole bunch of cars parked up in a circle.
It's definitely not a home in the sense of you live there forever, because it said low rates on the sign. And I'm trying to remember what the name of the place was.
They seem to know each other pretty well, because they probably didn't just meet when their parents were both going to a resort at the same time.
Yeah, so it's Uncle Shed's, and it appears to be a hotel.
All right.
But
motel.
But it's awful. They don't really look like hotel motel rooms, so it's a little unclear. They look more like little trailers, but
cabins, right? Yeah, cabins or something.
Yeah, like Pigeon Forge.
And apparently, somebody brought all their nudie magazines with them. I guess the dad of the little. Is it the black kid? It was his dad.
Well, I don't know if the dad brought them as much as the kid took them.
But again, what kind of guy brings all these things on a family vacation to a resort? Goodness. I don't want to know. Just the setup for that is weird, but continue. Go ahead and continue with their arc after they're looking at the magazines.
So they're looking at the magazines, and then the leech monster shows up and kind of chases them a little bit. Then Swamp Thing shows up, and they get into a little wrestling match.
He knocks on the door politely, right? Because that's the setup, and they think it's the dad.
Yeah, they think the parents came home, and they're freaking out. And then from all that, they decide that they need to go get a picture of Swamp Thing and sell it for money. So they spend the rest of the movie trying to do that. Eventually, they get the picture of Swamp Thing, but then the after credits or the mid credits, they realize they never put film in the camera, and they're blaming each other again.
Oh yeah, there was a scene that I thought was very interesting between the two boys. I've never seen that in any other movie. The kind of bond they shared with each other. So while they're getting the magazines out in the resort, do you notice what they do? They break out the soda, but one of them drinks a Coke and one of them drinks a Pepsi, and there's no big deal about it. It's just they open both cans at the same time. Have you ever seen that? Like a product placement shot in a movie between rival companies, just no big deal? How'd that even happen?
It tells me that they did not get paid to do so.
And it's realistic, though. It's like, oh, they had both sodas in the house. One kid wanted one, one's the other. That's just, it's like...
Do you have to have permission to drink a Pepsi on screen?
I don't think so. I think free advertising is fine.
What if it was a movie they wouldn't necessarily want to be associated with?
Well, that happened in Leprechaun with Lucky Charms, right? Because they asked permission to put Lucky Charms in the movie, and Lucky Charms, General Mills or whatever, didn't want to be associated with it. So that gave rise to the infamous line at the end of the movie about Lucky Charms.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes, if you can get away with it, I guess it's fine so long as nobody sues you after it happens. Right? Yeah. Never seen that in a movie. Just casually drinking whatever they want and not worrying about it.
What was your favorite practical effect?
Huh. I do appreciate a lot of the explosions. I guess the Swamp Thing costume itself is probably the best effect, if we can call it that. Or are you thinking of something else?
I
Like
mean,
an effect?
it's fair game. My dog's going nuts.
Must be squirrels.
Yeah. Let me go see. Might be David.
Enjoy.
All right, I'm back. It was my kid.
Your kid was barking. Really? It's very convincing.
Yes. So, practical effect. I think my favorite is when he is blown up in the sludge, and they have the sludge sliding around, and it goes into the sewer pipe, and eventually it comes out of the faucet, and he reforms himself. They did it very well to have no CGI.
He got blown up, and there's a plot point where Arcane tells the goon to get some of his junk so he can use it in the experiment, but I'm guessing they didn't because they have to wait until later.
Yeah, it's a line that they don't really follow up on. He never yells at the goon for not getting any gunk.
I just assumed he did because there was so much of it, but I guess he didn't.
I mean, I don't know how you would figure out what was Swamp Thing.
Maybe that's why he couldn't get any. It's like, it's indistinguishable. So, the creepiest practical effect is that makeout scene between Swamp Thing and, Abbie, where he's like, I'm a plant, it never worked, and maybe she says she's a vegetarian, and he breaks off, what do you call it, a knob? I mean, he takes a bite, and she takes a bite, and I'm wondering if there's a entendre here, and then they do, I guess, a hallucination scene. So it's like some kind of special mushroom or something. Then they finish the hallucination. She says, "Is that real?" And he said, "As real as you want it to be," or something to that extent. I'm just thinking, ew, what did I just witness here? Okay.
They're appealing to the kids.
Hey, what did he break off of himself? What was that?
Looked like a pickle, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, some kind of knob, right? That's what he... Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, on that note, Swamp Thing has his healing powers from the first movie, but this time it brings side effects along with it. You can talk about that later, but I think the healing effect looks worse in this movie than I remember it looking in the first movie. It's just sort of a weird green VFX overlay of the person.
No, it was pretty cheap. I mean, the move itself is pretty cheap, too. It's like Superman spinning back time or the kiss. It's like there's no stakes if you can bring them back to life anytime you want.
Probably has limits to it. Well, in this movie, it has side effects, so that's another thing. It didn't necessarily in the first movie. Maybe it did, but we don't know.
Yeah. So spoiler alert, Swamp Thing is trying to get in and free Abbie at the end, and he says, "This is too easy." And the reason that it was too easy is because he was moving so slow, and she's dead well before he ever gets there. And then he fights Baxter Stockman and throws a chair at Arcane, and the place is about to self-destruct. And so he picks her up. Well, he takes care of a guy with his grenade, too. Drops it right down his pants. But...
pretty good.
Throws
pretty him off screen.
Swamp Thing is ruthless in these movies.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
To be so green, he does not take care of any life. But he picks her up and very slowly walks her out into the swamp. And
that was in the credit scene, the carrying off the dead girl heroically.
And then he brings her back to life, and she grows a flower on her foot. So it's implying that she becomes a Swamp Thing. It looks like in the comics that pretty much did happen, and they got married. So
I don't know when, though. Like, there's a New 52 wiki article out there, but I don't know about the pre-New 52. Even though they got married, I don't know if she had swamp powers, too. Yeah, she first appeared in Swamp Thing number 3 in March of 73. So she was created by Len Wein, the guy who made Swamp Thing. I don't know if I'm going to see any references on issues to help me beyond that, though. Yeah.
But yeah, she has a relationship with Cable, and then she has a relationship with Swamp Thing.
The wikis disappointed me a bit for as long as Swamp Thing had been around. I expected a lot more out there.
No, I agree. It was a little underwhelming. When you're going to do a wiki on a comic character, give me some issue numbers.
Right. And wikis are terrible about that. Sometimes they just lean into the fictional history, and it reads too much like a biography as opposed to a research article that could help a little bit when you know specifically what when something happened, especially with all the retcons in comic history.
I will say, I think the casting of this movie, they did a good job from top to bottom on this. I don't know if there's any characters that stand out as just really annoying, not fitting the role. Even the thugs are relatively entertaining.
Other than the fact that I can't remember anybody's name, and I do wonder if the head thug needed a female sidekick, because I just don't remember what happened to her at all. You know, the head thug got the grenade down his pants. What happened to her?
So the head thug and Points are showing each other wounds and scars, and then that gets them kind of turned on and ornery.
No.
And
There you go.
they start to make out, and then someone comes in and says, "Hey, you need to get to work." And so the head thug drives off, and he gets kind of injured twice, but he's after Swamp Thing. I don't think they ever show her again. I mean, this is towards the end of the book, but
yeah, maybe Luis Jordan was supposed to have a scene with her, and he refused to do it.
maybe.
Yeah.
Anton Arcane, like, is he a bad guy or a bad
Yes,
guy?
he's a bad man, bad person, bad mother.
Even when he gets betrayed by Zarel, like he says, I'm not mad. It's more of an I'm disappointed kind of thing. My life, Abbie's life, irrelevant. Like you betrayed the work. Like we were doing something amazing here, and you betrayed the work. And he seems very authentic in that before he shoots her.
I mean, he's interested in the science in the first movie. It's just so that he can use it himself. Whereas this one, I don't know if he has any goals beyond his bodily integrity that he's losing by the hour.
He's not too worried about it. Right after he shoots her, he says, "God will pardon me." That's his job.
Okay, yeah.
What a line.
He's got a little bit of the Raul Julia Bison going on. A little bit lighter, but he has that quality to him that I appreciate.
Yeah, but yeah. The return of Swamp Thing. Like I said, I like this movie. I think it's paced very well. It's never dragging, I don't think. Maybe a little bit with the kids. It gets close to that point. But everything's weird enough where even if it's a scene that you don't particularly care for, like the in the woods stuff, it's so weird. It's kind of like distracting in a way. I don't know.
So here's another complaint I have just on that note. And you talk about the repetition. So in the first movie, we agreed the whole cat and mouse game with Alice is put on rewind way too much. I think it happens at least 3 times. She's on the run from somebody, she gets captured, and she gets away through one means or another. In this movie, even though they change it up a bit, where it's not Abbie all the time, it does happen a lot where some incident happens, where somebody gets in trouble for some random reason, whether it's some rednecks, or whether it's some monsters, or whether it's some criminal mercenaries. And Swamp Thing just magically shows up. And you're not sure why Swamp Thing magically appears, other than it's his time in the movie to make an appearance. Am I right about that criticism?
On your broader point of it's still a lot of chase cat and mouse scenes. Yeah, I think it's true. I think it works better because it's a comedy, almost like a Mel Brooks kind of style to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But he does tell her when he first meets her to leave, and she says she can't. She has to find out about her mother. And he says, well, if I can't talk you into leaving, just know that I will be nearby. So he's a stalker at heart, and he tells her up front, and then he follows through on it.
But he's also doing this with the kids on 2 occasions, at least. He just randomly shows up.
Well, the kids are looking for him, so, I mean...
Not in the first one when they're in the cabin, when the leech monster just goes knocking door to door.
Well, you could say that he was chasing the leech monster.
That's fair. Yeah, we don't know, but...
And we don't really know what Swamp Thing does, if part of his job description is to go around and taking care of all the mutants that get let loose, but...
It's plausible, though, yeah.
I think that they try to make the connections here. Whether they're clear and obvious or not, I don't think they really care that much. But I think it works better than the first movie. But I do agree, a little bit repetitive on the, people chasing the girl, Swamp Thing gets there, a wrestling match, repeat.
Yeah.
I think the set pieces help a lot more for this. It's not visually...
It's more diverse. Yeah. You're not just in one swamp the whole time, or a gas station, which, Swamp Thing never went to the gas station, but they did have a gas station. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right,
so what else do I need to convince you about to say this is a good movie?
I agreed it was fun. I'm just saying I don't know if I give this the edge over the first movie, because I still like a little bit of that drama quality from the first one, and the motivations being a little bit stronger, because Heather Locklear's character just doesn't sell me that she really, really knows what she's there for, other than a vague justice for her mother type of thing. Or
yeah, I mean, she does a really good job at falling in love with a plant. I will say that. She makes it very
That's why
believable.
she's in the movie. Because yeah, she's got to have those, and they look good in the trailers. They're funny dialogue in the trailer scenes.
I am surprised that this movie didn't do better than it did.
Yeah, theatrical anyway. What months did it come out?
May.
Ooh, is that right around the Bat debut? Let's see.
That's a good question.
Once Batman hit, there wasn't room for a whole lot else. Is what I seem to remember.
Why would you release it if it's like the same time? So that came out June 19th. So this movie, it came out a month before Batman.
All right, so you can't really blame Batman on that.
No, it's just, I don't know. It's surprising. I know Swamp Thing was not a main character in the comic book world, but this movie, like the posters look kind of cool. You'd think you get at least like 10 million or something. I don't know.
Wasn't there a controversy on the poster? Wasn't there something in the special features on that?
If there was, I didn't catch it.
So the poster that's on the DVD is not the one they used for the theater, which is, it's a fun poster of just Swamp Thing holding Locklear, and she's kind of screaming, but more of like a playful. So somebody redrew the poster. And you're probably thinking of, they used some reference poses to make it look cool and exaggerated, but they made it look way cartoony. I don't know who they hired. It wasn't Drew Stuzon or whoever it was that made a lot of those dramatic 80s posters. But Heather Locklear's people were upset because they approved the first poster, and the second one made her a bit not only cartoonish, but a little bit of exaggerated assets, not near as much probably as some movies. But Heather Locklear's people hated the poster, and the director people hated the poster, and I think the director threw Harvey Weinstein under the bus in the special features, because he was saying it was likely Harvey's idea.
Okay, so I'm looking at it, and I think I see the regular poster, and then I see the picture where Swamp Thing, I guess it is hand drawn. I don't see anything in that is over the top, though.
And maybe they just thought it looked stupid. Maybe that was it. Maybe they just
That might be.
hated the way everything looked.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love the poster for Swamp Thing. The style of it. I love that.
The original film?
Yeah, I wish the suit looked like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So when I look at the return poster, I think the hand drawn one, it's just not as good in terms of the style as the first one.
No, it's
so
not.
I think the picture itself, where you got the semi scream, I think it works. It works with the tone of the film too. She's never screaming in Swamp Thing's arms, but
I guess maybe that's the thing. I don't know how many theaters showed the movie, but maybe the poster just needs to be more interesting. I don't know. It's talking about 1989. I don't know what it was that would have really got somebody in the theater other than a big leading name. And I don't know how much Heather Locklear or Louise Jordan would have carried that weight back in 89.
Well, if the first poster didn't work in 82, then what are you going to do? I mean, you can't improve on that.
Yeah.
So, all right, what are we going to rate this off of?
There's magazines and there's Coke and Pepsi cans. What else we got in this movie? A lot of awkward things. Swamp knobs. Yeah, swamp knobs. It's one of those weird plot points in this movie.
We could just give the movie points.
Points. Yeah, we'll give it points. That works for me. Very appropriate for this kind of film.
So, if I'm not mistaken, I gave the last movie 2.
You said you wanted to give this one at least 3. I remember that.
Well, I think what it was I knew I liked this movie better, so I didn't want to set myself up for failure. Because if I gave the last one 3 and then this one wasn't as good as I remembered, I would have had a hard time dealing with that. So I think I gave it 2, just so I would have an easier time today. And I will give this 3.5 points. I think it's a fun movie.
Right.
It is in my opinion, up until the Batman movies, this is a top tier superhero movie. I mean, not as much competition. I understand that. But I think you could argue this is better than at least 2 of the Superman movies. Not saying it'd be right, but you'd make an argument. So,
okay.
I don't know. I give it 3.5 points. I like it. I could watch it again. I probably will.
So you gave it 3.5 points, and in the previous movie, I think we rated it based on swamp possums, like wet swamp possums, and I gave it 3 wet swamp possums. And so for this one, since we're rating it on points, if you really did the math, I'd say I give it 6 points. because as we're defining points, we're talking about a set of two. Like one set of points is a set of two. So I'm going to give it 3 sets of points if we cut that in half. And it's the same, they're equivalent to the wet swamp possums and a set of points.
I think that works. You have there are 3 sets of points in the movie. So yeah, I think that works.
It's too many Weinstein-isms in this movie for me. That's why I think it's the best way to rate this. There's just I can't put my finger on it, but it is a fun movie, and I like it, and it looks good, and it's fun. I like the way the cast plays off each other. But it's just like when you were a kid and you were watching an episode of Ren and Stimpy or something, or Rocko's Modern Life, and you're like, boy, they're trying to work some weird stuff in here. It's just kind of hard to quantify sometimes. And it's just too weird for me. So that's why, even though we got 3 possums to 3 sets of points, I give the edge to the original film, and I give ultimately the sink, the A and the B level. The B level goes to the sequel. Whereas even with all its flaws, I still find the first movie more interesting. And I wish the first movie looked like this. I wish they had the Swamp Thing suit in the first movie. I wish they had a lot more night scenes. Wish they could have worked in more explosion. There's very little actual explosion or fire or pyrotechnics in the first movie.
If I remember right, I believe that my main critique of the first movie was that it didn't feel enough like a Wes Craven movie. And if it had, he should have leaned into the horror. And this movie definitely does not lean into horror. It leans into the body horror a little bit. But if you're not gonna try to be a real horror movie, then at least be a fun movie. And I think that's what this one's going for.
Oh, it succeeds. And that's the other thing. You could argue this movie succeeds better on what it's going for than the first movie did. But I would still prefer the original Swamp Thing of the two. But I do very much enjoy this movie, and maybe one day I'll work through both of the commentary tracks on the MVD Blu-ray 4K.
All right, well, that's been Swamp Thing. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.